In Lab 6.2, we want to be able to model computation with decimals. And you have the manipulative cards in your packet. You have the manipulative cards in your packet, but I like to use graph paper and draw computation. I think that the students can see a little bit better, or as you're setting up your stations in your classroom, this might be a station that you have along with the use of the manipulative cards. So let's say that you want to add 7/10 to 1/10. So the students could draw 7/10 and then add on to that 1/10 and adding 8 and gives 8/10. Or if you are adding 7/10, if you're adding 7/100 to 5/10, you can mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/10 and then mark 7/100. And then count what you have, and you have 57/100. Now it works also when you have more than a whole. Let's say that you have 7/10 and you have 55/100. So I'm going to mark off 7/10 and then mark off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5/100. And so now you count and you have one whole, and you have 2/10, and you have 5/100. So I think that using graph paper, and you can download graph paper that is marked into thousands as well, so the students can practice working with tens, hundreds, and thousands. I think the thousands is hard to see, so that's why I'm not modeling the thousands, but you have the thousands card so that you can see how you model that. Now, with subtraction, it's basically the same in that you are taking the unit block that is a 10 by 10, so let's say that I have 7/10 and I want to subtract 5/100. So I'm going to mark off 7/10 and then I'm going to take away from that 5/100. And then I count to see what I have left, which would be 65/100. So addition and subtraction, I think, are well demonstrated by using graph paper. Also, in multiplication, if you remember that multiplication is repeated addition, then when you draw your unit square, and you have 2/10 times 4, you're going to model 2/10 4 times. And I guess that I have my square a little bit small. So I have 2/10, 2/10, 2/10, 2/10. So I have 2/10 4 times. And so that gives me 8/10. When you are modeling a decimal times a decimal, this is the cool part that you get from using graph paper. So let's say that I want to model 2/10 times 4/10. So I'm going to choose one to be the column and one to be the row. So if I model 2/10 going this way, and I model 4/10 going on the row, the double shaded region here will be the answer to that product. As you know, in the examples we did of modeling whole numbers multiplication, we used rectangles. If we wanted to model a 2 by 4, then we drew a rectangle that was 2 by 4 and counted to get 8. Well, that's the same kind of idea that we're doing with whole numbers, is that we can model the answer by creating the rectangles, and the overlapping region is your solution. And so in this, you are not throwing out answers or giving rules. You are giving them a way of understanding that 2/10 times 4/10 is 8/100, and you are not having to say, you multiply the numbers, you have two decimals, you move the decimal 2 places to the left to get your answer. They will, after you've done enough of these examples, then they're going to come up with the solution and the rules, and it will make sense to them. It also works when you're working with mixed decimals. Let's say that you wanted to multiply 1 and 2/10 times 1 and 4/10. So what I'm going to have to draw is the unit, and you should be doing this with me. So I have to model 1 and 2/10 by 1 4/10. So one of the numbers has to be the horizontal and one of the numbers has to be the vertical. Doesn't matter which you choose. So I'll choose 1 2/10 to be the horizontal. So I'm going to make, this is 1 because that's my unit square. So I draw 2/10 and make my rectangle. And now I'm going to do 1 4/10. So I have my unit, 1, 2, 3, 4. But remember, when we are multiplying, we create rectangles. So I have this region here that makes this shape not a rectangle. So I have to continue down until I have the rectangle created. And then I count what I have. This is the unit, so at least I have 1. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4/10. I have 1 2/10. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, wait. My line needs to go like this. So this region right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, is 8/100. So that's what I have to add together. And so 1 68/100 would be the solution. So it's a way of modeling without showing the rules. And then you should do this first before you begin showing what the rule is for multiplication of decimals in the placement of the decimal. If you remember, division is a shortcut to subtraction. So I'm going to make my unit. So we can do the sharing method so that if I have 60/100 and I want to divide that into 3 equal parts, here's 60/100. And I know that I can make 3 equal parts and have 20/100 as my solution. So that's dividing a whole number into a decimal. So if I had 8/10 and I wanted to divide that by 4, Then I'm going to mark off 1, 2, let's see. Not sure if I've got that. Let me count it again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I'm going to mark off 8 tenths. And I want to divide that into 4 equal parts. And so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts, and that gives me 2 tenths in each part. But what if I want to divide a decimal by a decimal? Now, those of you that have trouble, which most of you on the basic skills test miss the decimal computation, you can use these concepts that we are studying when you take your basic skills exam. All right. So, we have our unit. And let's say that we wanted to divide 75 hundredths by 15 hundredths. So what I would want to do is first mark off 75 hundredths. And then see how many 15 hundredths I could take out of that. So I would have to count 10 and 5. So there's 1. And then I do 10 and 5, so there's 2. And then 10 and 5, so there's 3. And 10 and 5 is 4. And 10 and 5 is 5. So I would be able to take 5 1500 sections out of 75 hundredths. So let's look at another example. So I'll start out with my unit square. So let's say I have 8 tenths. I want to divide that by 2 tenths. So I'll mark off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tenths. And I would count how many 2/10 sections there would be. So there would be 1. would be 2, 3, and 4. So there are 4 2/10 sections in 8/10. Therefore, the answer is 4. All right. What I would like for you to model for me is the multiplication and the division. So I'm not going to have you model the addition and subtraction because I think that is very simple and not something that you would have much difficulty with. But I would like for you to model the multiplication of 4/10 by 3/10, 1 and 4/10 by 1 and 3/10, model the division of 75/100 by 3, and the division of 70/100 by 5/100. You can download graph paper online for free, so you can print it without having to buy it. So either take a picture of what you've done and upload it onto Blackboard, or you're going to be in a time crunch to get it to me by mail.